In 1917, the United States were drawn into the bloody conflict over in Europe, and by 1918, US troops were being mobilized in France. European allies were already 4 years into this war, suffering high losses and low morale by the time the US entered. While we were not active in the war for long, American troops were fresh bodies, which played a large part in helping the war-beaten allies push to victory against the Germans, especially when it came to their role in the Argonne Forest. Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of The Real History Of, an episodic web series where I take a look at the real events and figures that inspired the settings of our favorite video games. I'm Christopher, the video game historian, and on this episode, I'll be looking at the real history of the Meuse-Argonne Offensive. Before I begin, I'm going to be highlighting various small YouTubers each video, and my first highlight of 2018 is BloodHoundHD. Like me, he also makes videos taking a look at the history of Battlefield 1, and unlike me, he also produces news and updates on the game. His channel is linked in the description below and is on my featured channels page as well, so be sure to check him out. Now, as far as the Meuse-Argonne Offensive goes, this will be the largest American-run operation in the war, and bring about an end to the conflict within 47 days after its opening. The main objective for the Allies in this offensive was to cut off the vital railway communication lines of the Germans at the Sedan-Mézières Railroad, as well as its capture. The Germans had already been in control of the sector for 4 years, and as such, they had heavily fortified this 24-mile front that stretched from the Argonne Forest to the river Meuse. For the Allies, this would be their last offensive in the war, and command of this operation was given to General John Pershing of the American Expeditionary Forces by Supreme Commander Foch. Prior to its opening, the offensive displayed a number of challenges for the Allies. In addition to the sector being heavily defended and fortified by the Germans, the terrain was overgrown and bushy and made it difficult to move troops and tanks on the non-existent roads. There was also a logistical challenge of transporting 400,000 troops who had all just finished attacking Saint-Mihiel to the Argonne sector in a matter of 10 days. Despite the challenges, the Allied attack kicked off in the early morning of September 26, 1918, with a 5-hour preliminary bombardment of 800 mustard gas shells and phosgene shells on the Germans the night before. A total of 37 French and American divisions carried out the offensive, and at 5:30 a.m., right after the bombardment, 700 tanks began their advance, with infantry following behind. The early morning fog had protected the Allied advance, along with taking the Germans by surprise. American troops were able to advance a total of 6 miles in some areas the first day, capturing 23,000 Germans. One division had trouble taking their sector, and as such, Germans in other sectors were able to retreat and regroup for a counterattack, which not only delayed further US advancement, but quickly turned the tide of the battle away from the Allies. On September 30th, Pershing will call off the offensive only to renew it once again on October 4th. At the same time, he'll hand over command of the AEF 1st Army Corps to Lieutenant General Hunter Liggett. The second phase of the offensive would begin, and during which the US managed to break through the Hindenburg Line at Kriemhilde-Stellung despite costly assaults on October 17th. By October 28th, the US managed to advance an additional 10 miles, clearing the Argonne Forest, while their French brothers managed a 20-mile advance, reaching the river Aisne. Despite German forces being exhausted, demoralized, and suffering from the influenza epidemic, they managed to put up heavy resistance to the Allies throughout the month. On November 1st, the final push of the offensive began. German defenses at Beaugency were captured, which allowed the French to finally cross the Aisne River, where they managed to not only capture Le Chesnay, but they also captured the railroad hub at Sedan. Fighting would continue up to the very last minute on November 11th, when news reached that the Germans had finally surrendered. With their surrender, the armistice was signed on General Foch's private train, NCIWA car number 2419, at 11 a.m. on November 11th, 1918, which ended the fighting on the Western Front. 1.2 million US troops fought in the last battle to end the war to end all wars, and of that number, America lost 26,000 men and 98,000 additional men were wounded. Comparatively, Germany lost 28,000 men, while 92,000 were wounded. While the armistice ended the fighting, it wouldn't be until June 1919 that the Treaty of Versailles was finally signed, bringing an official end to the war, which was effective January 1920. That's all for this episode. Hopefully you all enjoyed it, and if so, please give the video a like, subscribe to my channel, and leave your comments down below. Don't forget to check me out on social media with Twitter and Facebook, as well as find me in the Forum Feelers Platoon on PS4. Also be sure to give BloodHoundHD a subscribe on his channel, and until next time, I will see you on the battlefield.